I would say I'm not very good at like being sympathetic. I used to have, and I mean, still to this day, do have, every YouTuber has an ego and we'd all be lying if we said we didn't. Yep. There's a level to narcissism to this job, 1,000,000%. I think cancel culture is stupid. People always want an apology, and then you give an apology and it's never good enough.
We keep hearing about voice memos from victims of James Charles. Why is James Charles not being investigated? Like, if these are like serious crimes. This is like sexual assault, molestation. These are like serious things.
We have someone who has admitted to being attracted to young boys on camera, and that same person who has been caught seeing young boys on camera. It doesn't get any more cut and dry.
I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to come see you alone because you sent me and every time you sent me I left you unopened.
I didn't understand how a situation like this could affect the people involved, but now I do. And for that, to the victims, I am so, so sorry.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. If you are new here, hi, my name is Jen. It is so nice to meet you. You have stumbled upon a channel called Jen Love, and on this channel we talk makeup news. I have a makeup news show that goes live every weekend, and it is all about things that are happening currently in the industry. But on Fridays, I like to do a deeper dive, either on things that are currently happening or things that have happened in the past. In this case of this extremely long series, much longer than I had expected, we're talking about James Charles. We're talking about his patterns of behavior. We're talking about his story on YouTube in the public eye and who he's presented himself to be as a person. Now, this video is part 5. And if you're jumping in here now, you may not understand the complexities of this entire situation, but I don't think you're going to be completely lost. Today, we're focusing on the accusations against James for inappropriate behavior with minors. And in that, huge trigger warning is that we are going to be talking about some sensitive topics today. And if that is too much for you, please, please, please take care of yourself first and make sure that you're okay before you watch content like this. So with that, we are about to jump into the accusations against James Charles. But before we do, we need to pick up where we left off, which was when Tati uploaded Breaking My Silence and the effect that that had on our beauty space. And we're starting with the effect that that had on Shane Dawson because it was wild. Familiar with the people that I'm talking about. Tati Westbrook, huge beauty guru, influencer, glam life guru, was a mentor to James Charles for many years before she publicly broke up with him in a video called Bye Sister, and then he rebutted with a video called No More Lies, which basically vindicated him because he put all the receipts up. Tati hadn't put her receipts up. It's much more complicated than that, and that's why I have an entire video on it. That's part 3. Shane Dawson had presented himself in modern history at that time as a nerdy documentary filmmaker, quirky, just trying to help people. And he had done a documentary with Jeffree Star, a very eccentric, a very, I don't know what you call it, braggy, always flaunting his wealth kind of person. The pairing was a little bit odd, but they were very successful in this collaboration that they had done. In the video Breaking My Silence, Tati basically said that Shane and Jeffree were in her ear, and that's why she made Bye Sister, that they had told her all of these things that they didn't have evidence for that ended up not coming out in Shane and Jeffree's docuseries, and it was because of them that she uploaded Bye Sister, which was a pivotal moment in our beauty space and in the history of YouTube. So for some unknown reason, Breaking My Silence goes live and Shane decides that he is going to live stream his reaction to watching Breaking My Silence. And you can hear his, I think there was his fiance at the time, it's his husband now, Ryland, in the background, like commenting, and Shane is losing, like he's losing it. He even says, I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. It's wild. Let me just show you the clip.
So sure. Oh, of course. Is that another ad? Another ad. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. This is so f***ed. This is, oh my God. Okay. I'm live because I can't even process. I need a drink of water. I fucking can't process this. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. This woman is a oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to wait till as many people get in here as possible because I'm losing my mind. Keep playing it. Keep playing it.
I didn't even know I was making a video. So how is it that so many editorial outlets knew that something was coming before I had...
Because you message drama channels! Oh my God. Oh my God.
I struggled with the decision
Oh my
to
God.
film my video for days. The night before I did film, Jeffrey sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim and told me to listen to the pain in their voice. The audio was clearly a small portion of the conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Well, then why would you make a video on the matter claiming these allegations?
Because she is a... I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This is insane. This person literally... Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Keep pressing play. I need to get through this video so I can... Oh my God.
As a victim of abuse myself...
Oh my God.
Terrified.
You are so manipulative.
To think of facing public...
You're fake crying. You are fake crying. You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
It was not my
Oh my God.
place.
I was molested. I have been. Oh my God.
Victim.
That is not.
And I made no mention of it in my video.
Oh my God.
Get off.
The night before posting my video by sister,
Oh my God.
I texted Shane sharing my concerns for James Charles, that he was out of the country on the high floor of a hotel and I was afraid for
And here at the end, Ryland telling Shane to turn off the camera, which he shouldn't have turned it on in the first place. But I'm really glad that Ryland told him to turn it off because this was a really bad look for Shane. But Ryland did go on Twitter in Shane's defense and he called Tati's video a masterclass in manipulation. Shane was also friends at the time with Trisha Paytas, and Trisha Paytas, she uploaded a video called Tati Dumb as Hell, and it's since been deleted. I do have a copy of it because of course I do. I say what you want about Trisha, but she actually does make some points in this video. I'll play you a couple of clips so you can kind of get the idea.
You heard that there was victims coming out about James Charles. So in order to get his phone down, you decided to make the biggest hit piece in the history of YouTube. So, okay, so was it Shane and Jeffrey who pushed you to the video? Or were you scared that sexual victims were about to come out, so you wanted him to put his phone down by making a crazy hit piece from one of his best friends? If you were that concerned for him to put his phone down, maybe call and be like, hey, I heard that you were a sexual predator and victims are coming out. Like, be prepared. Not let me also put 55 million people against you. And she says the only reason she took that video down was per the request of YouTube, saying it was a bad look for them. That's why you took it down. She didn't feel sorry. Okay, now she's saying in this video that Jeffrey is going to go off and we need to be prepared. Hey, here's an idea. Yeah, blackmail sucks. And honestly, this is the God's honest truth because we're just being truthful in this video. Honestly, he's never said that shit to me, like I have shit over people or whatever. How about we just stop saying shit that people can hold over our heads? We keep hearing about voice memos from victims of James Charles. Why is James Charles not being investigated? Like, if these are like serious crimes. This is like sexual assault, molestation. These are like serious things. Why haven't we been investigated? Why hasn't James Charles offered some sort of thing? When it comes to a serious crime and these accusations keep going and going, you shouldn't be apologizing to James Charles, who you believe to be a sexual predator. You should be like investigating him, or just don't say shit. If nothing's gonna be done, just stop saying shit. She says it's not her place to contact the authorities or the alleged victims. And how is it your place to make a YouTube video to an audience that you share with James Charles to 55 million people? How is that your place? I would love to know you're rationalizing that. It's not your place to contact the cops for sexual assault or go to the person being accused, your friend being accused of sexual assault. No, just blast it on YouTube to perpetuate a rumor even. I'm done. I can't watch anymore. There's 8 minutes. I didn't do it. If you completed the Tati Westbrook challenge, I applaud you. I have it. Oh my God, girl. Thank you for providing me with this entertainment today. But girl, get off the internet. Take a break, yo. Like this, I can't believe this is serious right now. I can't. I can't. This is, oh my, please. Oh God. Please never delete this video because it's so iconic.
As a consequence to everything we talked about in part 4, Jeffrey socially, professionally is crashing. And that's evidenced in Morphe's reaction to everything going down on social media. Morphe was one of, if not the biggest retailer for Shane and Jeffrey's collaboration palette called Conspiracy. As a reaction to all of this going down, Morphe pulled the palette, which was a huge seller for them, from shelves and also from their website. And not long after, they publicly announced that they were cutting all ties with Jeffree Star. And I think that it's really important to pause here and recognize what a big deal this was for Morphe. Jeffrey was a cash cow for Morphe. Jeffrey, when he did like a ribbon cutting for a Morphe store, thousands of people would show up. I mean, he had so many sales for Morphe. Them cutting ties with him was a huge deal financially for the company. But that said a lot about Jeffrey's current reputation, that even with all that money that was going to be lost, Morphe and their parent company, Forma at the time, felt like that this was important enough to drop him, that the financial loss of keeping him would be worse than the financial loss of letting him go. So in order to contend with that, Jeffrey uploaded a video called Doing What's Right. This video was awful. It was like the video he had done Never Doing This Again, but with this opulent background and a Black Lives Matter deflection that was just gross, especially happening in the summer of 2020. It was just really inappropriate. It is literally one of the most obnoxious videos I've ever seen, but if I have to see it, you have to see it too. So I'm just gonna play you a short clip though, so you can get the point.
Did I slip up? Am I human? Have I done some fucked up things? Of course I have. But at the end of the day, today, once again, I will not be exposing anyone. For everyone saying Jeffrey's gonna be coming with the receipts and we all need to get ready to forgive, that is the opposite of who I am. I know this may sound shocking coming from my mouth, but when you accept that you are the problem, you can become the solution. And I've definitely put myself in the victim mentality before when I knew I was wrong and I didn't want to admit it, I wasn't ready to, and I was too insecure. But today, there are no excuses. I'm someone that has impulse control, and I'm fully admitting my flaws, and I hope that people can learn from me. I know there's a lot of people waiting for me to address this situation. Now, I didn't try to take anyone down. I'm not a villain in a movie. This isn't a Netflix series with a crazy storyline. I know it sounds like it, and trust me, I'm sure I'd watch it as well, but this is my real life. Now, did I mix myself up in drama? Did I speak on things I shouldn't have speak on? Of course I did. Did I believe certain things instead of asking the source? Did I get caught up in the hype? Did I do dumb shit? And did I not just simply call James Charles and ask questions myself? 100%. And that is my fault. I would like to personally apologize to James Charles for the words that I've said and for my actions. If I was really close with someone, I should have had the ability to just simply call them and ask and say, hey, these were the things that were being said to me. Instead, I didn't. I let people really gas me up, get me going behind the scenes, and I really fell for a lot of things and I got caught up in the hype. It's disgusting, it's awful, and none of it should have happened. So James, I am truly sorry for my actions and my behavior. And did I get swept up into the bullshit again? Of course I did. And for that, I'm forever embarrassed of. Now, Breonna Taylor still has no justice. Black trans women are being murdered every day and the news is silent. Elijah McClain has no justice. And the countless other people who are murdered every single day while everyone just goes about their business like nothing's happening. And I think that drama and the beauty world, which I have definitely been a part of, it all has to stop.
James, on the other hand, was flying high. He, in fact, was not served a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building. Quite the opposite. He was getting more views than he ever had. He was doing very, very well. And in in that, James's ego seemed to be inflating as well. His behaviors, his patterns of behavior that we have been talking about since part 1 started getting worse and worse. And as his ego inflated bigger and bigger, the not listening, the unwanted DMing, all of it was escalating. Of course, we couldn't know the direction that James was going to go and how bad it was going to get, but we got a little bit of a glimpse. It was like, the window with the dark curtains, and we got to kind of see a little bit inside when James tweeted at a creator named FaZe Sway. Now, FaZe was only 16 at the time, and people brought to James's attention FaZe's age, and James promptly deleted the tweet. Soon after, James appeared on a podcast called Impulsive. Now, that podcast is Logan Paul's podcast. And if you're not familiar with Logan Paul, he's very, very famous for lots of terrible reasons, but he has a podcast and James was on it. And I will tell you that I did not know this existed until way later because Logan Paul is outside of the beauty space and he's just not on my radar. Let's just be honest. And I don't think he's on a lot of people's radar that are in the beauty space. So I think a lot of us missed this, but it would definitely come back to bite James later. This is the clip, and this is the warning that things were not right with James.
We have a very special guest. He is a makeup artist and beauty guru with 20 million subscribers on YouTube and over 19 million on Instagram. He's got his own reality show. He was the first male cover girl. He's my new neighbor, and he's been canceled before, but now he's canceling all you Hi, sisters. It's James Charles.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait.
That's a good intro.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. I wrote it myself. Are you looking for love on a long-term,
yes.
like longevity?
Yes.
Because I hear these stories. We talked about it, and like, how is your love life? Yeah. Why?
Okay, so the thing is for me, I'm 21, but like I said, I have the mentality of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
So for me, like I'm much more mentally and emotionally mature than a lot of people my age. I'm not physically attracted to older guys, which sucks. Like I would date like the absolute youngest, like 18, 19 that looks a little bit older, or like 24 that like has a young personality.
Okay.
I've talked to a lot of different guys that live in different states as well. This is a better example than just a dinner. Like I've talked to guys that live in different states and stuff, and I'm like, hey, like why don't you come visit? And like, well, I can't afford a plane ticket. And it's like, okay, well, I can. So like get on the plane. And like, well, I just don't really feel comfortable with that. But like I love you and I really want to be together. And I'm like, well, we can't be together because you can't afford a plane ticket. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college. Right. You're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college. Right. So like either you accept the flight and realize that like this is what I'm bringing to the relationship so we can spend time together if you actually care about me, or we literally never meet because you can't afford it.
Because of the stories we talked about in part 3 with James inviting 19-year-olds to fly out to see him, I think a lot of people, when they saw this, they thought that James was talking about 19-year-olds. But the big red flag here, obviously, is that he slips up and says that he's attracted to high school boys. So people that did see this were definitely side-eyeing James at this point. If you didn't see James's tweet to FaZe Sway, and if you didn't see the Impulsive podcast, then you're still at the point where everybody has been apologizing to James Charles. We had Shane apologize to James. We had Tati apologize publicly to James. We've now had Jeffrey apologize to James twice for his involvement in what James went through and everything. So the public is sitting here thinking that, at least this was the impression I was given, we're all sitting here thinking that James was 100% innocent and that everything that they had said about him was based on lies or manipulation or whatever, and that none of it was true.
I've seen some TikToks about dudes baiting you.
Every once in a while, but I feel like now it doesn't work anymore because all the comments like, you're so f***ing stupid. Like every time that people
it's
do
also
it,
just like,
it's pathetic.
It's up. It's
really
so
good.
I always say crimes of the heart are like the worst. Like I just like anything from like cheating or using someone in that kind of way is just like
it's really stupid. But I will say, like, after everything that happened last year and me having to like get in front of millions of people and prove that I wasn't a f***ing sexual predator, like that kind of helped my narrative, my case. Now, where like when people do try to do that, everyone's like, you're so like cut it out, like leave him be.
I think it was the general opinion that the predator allegations were fake, that he wasn't actually a predator. But what we didn't know is behind the scenes, he was being a predator. actually. And in 8 months, he was going to apologize for it. The first story that came out of a young boy that had been contacted by James and sent inappropriate pictures was a 14-year-old boy named Ethan. Ethan looks like a child. I have a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and Ethan looks like a kid that would go to school with my kids. He absolutely does not look 18. So Ethan uploads this video called Dear James Charles, No More Sister, and that happened on July 27th of 2020.
And me not knowing anything, like, I just think that's cool. Like, James Charles, like, 18, 17 million followers, like, wants me to add him on Snap. Like, not even in a clout way. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's dope. Like, in an influencer, like, everybody knows who he is pretty much. I was like, that's awesome. And so I thought it was cool, and he just started getting a little too comfortable with me, and he was asking me to send him nudes, and he kept wanting me to go to LA, and he kept sending me nudes, and I kept just sending me a picture back. I didn't respond. I just literally sent a picture back to me, and he would leave it on open and then snap me like a few hours later, sending me another picture of his like ass. You know, I'm just gonna say it, like, it made me feel super uncomfortable. And so yeah, like, honestly, like, I'm not making this video to cancel him. I'm just trying to help others out there, because there's a lot of kids that are my age that think it's awesome that James Charles is asking to add him on Snapchat, but in reality he's trying to make you think that you are something you're not. And I don't want that happening to anybody else. And to all the parents and everybody watching this video, I'm trying to help you out for the future with your kids, and to make sure always, like, stay in touch, like ask them, like, check their phones, whatever you know to do, you know. Because, like, so last night a buddy of mine sent me a video link to Logan Paul's podcast with James Charles on it, and he asked me if James Charles was talking about me. I was like, what? And so I watched the video, and James Charles is talking about this TikTok boy that he was always trying to fly out, and he wouldn't, because he would always make excuses about family problems. And that was me. Like, I would always make excuses because I didn't want to go out there. I felt uncomfortable about family problems. And when I did say I would come out there, you know, like, hangout wise, I said I was going to come out with him, which is like my brother, like older brother, you know. And he got very defensive and mad about it, actually. And he said, well, if I fly you out here, I want you to stay with me, all this and all that. And I didn't know what to do. And I just felt very uncomfortable. And so,
keep in mind, he's 14 years old. You want to fly a 14-year-old boy out to your house? That's weird. That is mad weird.
And so I continue watching his podcast, and I'm just like, yo, like, I think this is, like, towards me. Like, it's honestly, like, everything that he talks about in his podcast, like, I told him. Like, it was always excuses, like, always something. And it was always that, because I always felt uncomfortable. I'm making this video because I want you to stop threatening me and putting threats on me and saying you're going to come after me and destroy me. And it just needs to stop, James, honestly. And I know you're going to try to dig yourself out of this hole that you're in, but honestly, I don't think you will be able to. And this is all with bottom, like, just my whole heart, everybody. I just want all the kids out there to understand that just because there's a big influencer texting you doesn't mean they can control your life, and don't let that happen to you. And thank God I was smart enough, because, you know, he's taught me a lot, and like how to live life, like, you know, the real way. And I just want other kids to realize that and understand that. And I just want to say one more thing to James. Please do not threaten me anymore. Please don't try to come after me or my family or do any of that. Those are my final words to you.
Ethan's reaction to people's reactions to that video. I'm going to play you a clip of it, but I will tell you that every time I listen to this, I get emotional, feeling horrible for Ethan. Like, it really bothers me.
Anybody that has seen the James Charles video and has commented on that post, on that video, talking about, where's the facts, where's the receipt saying that you were 14? I don't have the receipts. I told him on FaceTime. I told him on Snapchat. I have like a 3-second video of us being on FaceTime. Okay? I am 14 years old. I have 330,000 followers on TikTok. I'm not trying to be arrogant. My age is on the internet. Okay? It says 15. It's a 1-year difference. I'm still a minor. I'm still underage. My age is on the internet. Okay? If you really wanted to look that deep into it, he could have looked up my age. I told him my age. He knew my age. So to everybody saying, where's the receipts? I don't have the receipts. I have the receipts of him wanting to fly me out, though. I have the receipts of all of that. Okay? He was trying to flip it on me, saying that I said I was 18 years old. I didn't say I was 18 years old. Okay? He talked about me on Logan Paul's podcast and texted him asking if there was shade being thrown at me. You know what? He said no. He was talking about some Romanian boy, okay? First of all, it's crazy how that Romanian boy said everything I was saying to him, making all those excuses. I was uncomfortable. I didn't want to come see you alone. I had my homeboy. I asked my homeboy if he would come with me because I didn't want to be with you alone because you sent me nudes. You sent me nudes, and every time you sent me nudes, I left you unopened. And you know what? You would get mad or you would snap me back. You would continue snapping me. Okay? I was scared. I didn't know what to do. Alright? I had mixed emotions. I didn't know what to do. All I wanted to do was be friends, okay? So for everybody saying I'm queer baiting, whatever y'all want to call it, I'm not. I wanted a friendship with this dude. He kept taking it too far. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck in a position where I didn't know what to do. So for everybody saying, oh, where's the receipts? Saying, oh, you were 14 years old. I don't have it. I don't have the receipts. At the time, I wasn't thinking this would happen. I started feeling uncomfortable and I thought I would have to come out to the public talking about this whole situation because there might be kids out there my age that this has happened to and they want to get it out, but they're too afraid. So I'm standing up for myself just as well as these other kids that it's probably happened to. Come on now, Jay. What makes you think that this one is not true, okay? What makes you think that he wasn't talking to a 14-year-old boy, huh? Oh, there's no receipt saying I'm 14 years old. My age is on the internet. I am a public figure. I have 330,000 followers on TikTok. I have a fan base. I have people that care about me. He knew my TikTok. I have little girls commenting on my Instagram. There's no one older than 18 in my Instagram comments. I don't have facial hair. I don't have any facial hair. You see that? No, I don't look 18 years old. Like, what are you talking about? I'm sick of everybody accusing me for all of this. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm trying to help you out if this has ever happened to you. I'm trying to speak out so all these other kids will speak out like I said. I'm just trying to help everybody. I'm sick of this. Like, come on, when are we all going to come together and cancel this dude? He deserves to be imprisoned. Come on now, my age is on the internet like I said. And for everybody talking about this should have been done behind the screen, police authorities, all that. I'm trying to get this out there. So just in case your daughter, your son, maybe yourself is dealing with this, I'm trying to get kids to speak out on this situation.
This is the thing that gets me, is that James is going to continue, and you're going to hear this theme throughout this video. James is going to continue to say that these boys lied to him and said that they were 18. And what I have to say to that is completely 100% irrelevant because they were children and James was the adult. And it is James's responsibility as the adult to make sure he is not sending inappropriate pictures to minors, period, point blank. Period. I do, however, want to make sure that I do tell you every piece of this story. And in that, I do have to mention to you that Ethan does have some credibility issues from stories that have circled the internet. One of them is from a girl that says that she knows Ethan personally. She said that Ethan lied about his age all the time and that he did bait James.
So these two guys, Ethan and Zay, are trying to claim that James Charles baited them. What I think is funny about it is that a month ago, they texted me since I've known them for 2 or 3 years now. They live a good 20-30 minutes away from me. James commented on one of my videos and they saw it, so they FaceTimed me. Keep in mind, the only time they've ever reached out to me is whenever I've hit a success. But they saw that James commented on one of my videos. So Ethan and Zay snap call me. I answered the call and they were like, hey, we saw that James commented on your video. Like, that's super cool. And I was just freaking out. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, he did. And then Ethan was like,
well, I actually talked to James.
And Zay was like,
yeah, he talks to James.
And I was like, oh, like, that's so cool, whatever. And then he proceeded to tell me that he DM'd him and that James actually responded and he thought that was crazy. He's telling me how it was so cool that James had talked to him and that they Snapchatted each other. He was just basically bragging about how James talks to him and how he flirts with James and all this stuff. He told me, he's like, I'm not gay, but like, it's James Charles, so I'm gonna flirt with him. Keep in mind, Ethan has told me before that he's 17, about to turn 18. So when I hear that he told James that he was 14, and then I saw that James posted screenshots saying he's 18, I believed it, because he lied to me about his age. Basically, Ethan claims that James baited him, James was sending him booty pics, and that he felt so uncomfortable. He felt like his family's life was in danger. because he was being hit on after he DM'd someone, saying that he was trying to shoot his shot, knowing their sexuality, lying about their age. But in his video, he says everything opposite of what actually happened, and I know because he told me.
I get what she's saying, and I get that maybe Ethan did do all of those things. Absolutely. But again, it's not Ethan's responsibility to be the mature one here. He is 14 years old. It is James's responsibility to make sure that he's being appropriate. Sending nudes to someone that is that young is creepy and it's disgusting, period. No matter what Ethan did, again, it was James's responsibility. This story about Ethan, paired with what he had said just a couple of weeks before on the Impulsive podcast, really puts pieces together, at least in my mind. If you know the story, you know that it's going to escalate and get a lot worse. But before it does, I do think that it's important to set up who James was presenting himself to be at that moment in time so we can talk about the people, the public's reaction to what was happening. And to be honest, James was presenting himself exactly the way that he had been presenting himself since the beginning of his career, as an asshole. We are now in early August of 2020, and James and a fellow beauty guru, Manny MUA, both made a choice that was obnoxious and stupid. They had seen that Alicia Keys was going to launch a cosmetic line. And if you're not familiar with this story about Alicia Keys, back in 2016, she had decided she was going to go makeup free to events. She had never said that she was not wearing makeup at all, but she was really embracing her natural self and kind of having a rebellious moment that if I don't want to wear makeup, I don't have to, and I'm going to do what I want to do. She would later say about the time I went through my own experience of really feeling rebellious about what people were telling me, what the world, society was telling me, what I was supposed to look like, because I fell into that. I subscribed to it. So when Alicia announced that she was going to come out with a cosmetic line, Manny and James went after her. Manny tweeted, quote, "Does anyone else get slightly irritated when celebs come out with entire makeup lines, especially when those celebs don't even wear makeup? I'm like, girl." James tweeted similar thoughts, saying, "People who do not wear makeup should not be coming out with makeup brands, but that's just my opinion." So essentially both seem to be claiming that because Alicia was doing this whole no makeup thing, that she had no right to create a makeup line. But it soon came out that Alicia's cosmetic line was not a makeup line. It was a self-care / skincare line called Keys Soul Care that Elf Cosmetics was the parent company of. And both of them had to eat their words, and both of them did publicly. I will put both apologies on the screen for you to read, but I want to read you one specific line from James's post. It says, quote, "I am not the gatekeeper of makeup. Anyone should be able to secure their bag, and it's not up to me which brands people should or shouldn't support." So this is reinforcing that theme that we've been talking about James being impulsive and going off at the mouth and acting like he knows something when he doesn't. We've been talking about this since part 2 when he went after Marlene Estelle for the Netflix documentary. It's the same behavior years later. And if you thought that he was learning the lesson now, no, he didn't learn it, because 2 weeks later he got in trouble for a very similar situation, this time with Lauren Conrad. Lauren had just launched her makeup line and she sent out PR packages, and in that she made a mistake. Here is the video of James unboxing his PR package.
Okay, so I've already been having a really weird day. Maybe one day I'll tell you guys about it, but honestly probably not, because I probably can't. But I've just been really sitting here thinking, like, wow, could this actually get any weirder or any worse? And it just did. I just opened a PR package from a new makeup brand from somebody who has no business having a makeup brand, and I just wanted to show you guys some of these products, okay? This is the liquid highlighter that I just opened up. Notice anything weird about it? There's no highlighter in there, nor is there a cap, and it's not even sealed. Like, I actually just received this piece of plastic in a PR box. I'm gonna cover the brand. This is the eyeliner that I just got. You notice the tip is white, right? That's because there's no ink in the actual eyeliner pen. Like, stop making makeup brands. Stop.
I mean, it's just mean. It's just a mean video. Clearly, something happened where something was accidentally sent to him. I was accidentally sent someone's opened lunch utensils, you know, like the plastic with the napkin and the salt and pepper and a spork in it. It was open and I got it sent in a PR box. Like, things happen sometimes. I can't remember what the brand was, but it was a thing. So all I did was I emailed the brand and I was like, hey, just so you know, you may want to be careful about your lunch utensils. And they were like, oh my gosh, and they felt too bad, and that was the end of it, right? So clearly something has happened. And my whole thing in calling out brands is if you're going to say something publicly, then there should be a reason to, right? It's a danger to the consumer. There's something dirty or there's something that's not right. There's mold. There's something that the consumer needs to know. You're not just roasting somebody because a mistake happened, which clearly is what happened here. Now, Lauren Conrad did respond to this, and this is what she said. For those asking about the empty components sent to James, let me tell you a fun story. The woman who put together the gifts, it was me, decided to fill a makeup bag full of empty samples to make sure everything would fit inside. When beauty products arrived and it was time to fill all the makeup bags, she, again me, accidentally included the bag full of empties with the others and it was sent out. She, hand raise emoji, will be let go immediately. And I don't think Lauren could have handled this any better. I mean, this is such an oh shit moment. Like, horrible. So James, 2 weeks ago, he's going after Alicia Keys, thinking he knows that she's launching some kind of makeup line. He finds out it's skincare and wellness and has to eat his words. Now he's got Lauren, who's just very sweetly admitting that she accidentally did this. And James has just roasted the crap out of her. Now James is forced to apologize again, this time in an Instagram story. And it's just the text on the screen. It says, wanted to write an apology to Lauren Conrad for my stories earlier. I've been on the verge of tears all day long from a ton of things going wrong, and opening her PR package was the icing on the cake of weird things happening today. My stories talking about the products were supposed to be funny, but they just came across as nasty because I was so upset, not with her, but with other things that happened today. Lauren and I spoke privately about the misunderstanding and are both good. So that happened. That was a thing. James still hasn't learned. He still thinks he knows everything, and he still goes off at the mouth. Meanwhile, just as a side note, in case you're wondering what other people are doing, Jeffrey's now selling his house in Calabasas. Tati is now putting her house on the market, the LA house. Forma and Morphe have now gone through on their promise to launch hair, skin, and nail vitamins with their new company called Such Good Everything. And about a month after James's Instagram debacle with Lauren Conrad, he gets himself into another scandal, this time with a clothing company called Teddy Fresh. If you are not familiar, Teddy Fresh is a clothing line owned by Hila Klein. She is the wife of Ethan Klein. They have a podcast called, it's either H3 Podcast or H3H3 Podcast. Anyway, they're extremely popular in their corner of the internet, and Hila has this Teddy Fresh line. James also has a clothing line called Sisters Apparel, and what Hila and Ethan see is that James's new launch for Sisters Apparel looks strangely familiar. I'm just going to play for you the clip of Hila and Ethan explaining what happened because I couldn't do it better than the way that they do it.
Thing is, I mean, you guys know because you guys are fans, but a lot of people don't understand is that hoodie is like our most iconic piece. And it's our #1 seller. It has been for years. And like James Charles making, it's exactly the same hoodie.
I think in this case, it just kind of hurt because it's a fellow YouTuber who's actually got way bigger influence than we do.
Yeah, way big.
And so it just kind of hurts.
Color blocking is very popular, and a lot of people do color blocks. And I would never dream of saying, you know, oh, you own color block. We own color blocking, and you're stealing. So, but the thing is here is that I'm having a hard time with his merch because this is the exact same design as Hila's. And combined with the fact that his audience is so huge, they're going to start accusing us of plagiarism. What do you think? So here's his hoodie. And then here's our hoodie. It's the same sleeve color.
Hi, sisters.
Teal and purple. The same body color. It's just a little lighter, really. Same hood. Even the hood and the drawstring are yellow. The sleeves are yellow. I mean, it's literally exactly the same. Here's all the TikToks where he was promoting the hoodie. That has a combined view count of like 60 million. Yeah, 60 million. Maybe more. I mean, maybe more. When I DM'd him, first of all, he was super dismissive and flippant and rude because my intention was to be like, I don't want it to come public and I want to talk to him first and just see what he has to say. And he was like, I've never heard of your brand. I don't know anything about it. And I don't know what you're talking about. And I already made it. There's nothing I can do. And he was like super rude too. He's like, why are you even messaging me? He said, why are you even messaging me? Are you just trying to start drama? But if I was trying to start drama, I would have just tweeted and not messaged him. And then he goes like, well, we should resolve this in the DMs. And then he says, I asked what you wanted to do and you didn't respond, which is not true. I said...
I mean, he said he's going to sell them anyway. So what is there to do about it?
Well, but it's literally not true. He said, I'm going to talk to my design team and get back to you. And 3 days passed. And so I was like, well, there's just nothing's going to happen. And I have to protect our brand and your work because, again, he's going to sell 1 billion of these hoodies and he's just going to kill this style, which is our, frankly, bread and butter.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to kill the style, but it's fine. I think that it was fine to make it public just so people are aware, and that's it.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
If it was just a little tiny bit different, I wouldn't have said a fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's identical, and that's the part that kills me, right? He literally said after I confronted him, and I hadn't seen this colorway here, he says, oof, just to give you a heads up, it appears that this one has the exact same colors, and it looks like the design team totally ripped you off. He literally said that.
Hi, sisters.
And I said, wow, so it doesn't seem like a coincidence, does it? And he said, it's not. He says, it does not appear to be a coincidence. So he literally admit that they ripped us off in the DM.
It seems pretty clear that potentially he personally was not aware, although that is very questionable too. But let's say that it was not. Someone on his team was. But it doesn't matter. I mean, ultimately, it's his responsibility.
He goes, well, anyway, even if I did rip you off, it's not even the same audience, so it won't matter. I was like, okay. I wish I could share this conversation with you guys.
Well, we just did.
Yeah, I guess. But people got to see to believe, man. The thing is, he was just super rude to me, and I was trying to be really polite, but I don't know.
Nathan's description of James being a selfish asshole and not having professional communication, yeah, that tracks. As James is making headlines for being James Charles and having the same patterns of behavior that we've seen for years, the media is also digging up more dirt on Jeffree Star. Kat Tenbarge is a journalist who works for various news outlets. She's a freelancer, at least that's what it seems like, and she covers our beauty space a lot. A lot of the big articles that you will see about controversies in our space have been written by Kat Tenbarge. So Kat got a hold of some information about Jeffree's past, and I'm talking about way past. This is from the early 2000s to 2009 and some atrocious behavior. I am not going to go into all of the details, but I will link Kat's article down below if you would like to read it, just to see what Jeffree has been accused of. Here's a little bit of an idea of what the article focuses on, but there's more details in that article. It focuses on violent and abusive behavior in the late 2000s, including allegations of assault from 4 people who spoke to Beauty Insider, aka Kat. 5 people told Insider that they personally saw Jeffree using a tasing device to hurt or intimidate people. That in 2009, Jeffree used a taser on a homeless teenager who had rejected him, then assaulted him in his apartment. According to Insider, several people and internet posts from the time corroborated key components of the homeless teenager's story. The article goes on to list atrocity after atrocity. It is horrible. This includes Jeffree pursuing a 17-year-old when he was 22 years old. But this is the kicker. The article says that they spoke to many of Jeffree's accusers, but Jeffree offered them anywhere from $10,000 to $45,000 to keep quiet, and then the accusers retracted their stories. I am warning you, if you click on that article, it is so disturbing. It is really awful. Like, I had to skip through parts because it was really really, really bothering me. Hello, editing Jen here. I'm just gonna pop in really quickly because it's been a couple of weeks since I put out part 4, and in that you all have commented a lot of things, and I want to address something that was a common thought from part 4 because I think it's addressed here, in that a lot of you were very confused by so many people talking about how they were afraid of Jeffree Star, how Tati even moved because she was afraid Jeffree was going to do something. Blair White had talked about how if she was found dead in a ditch, it was probably Jeffree Star. And a lot of you were really confused by that. And I think that it's possible that maybe this side of Jeffree, this side that Kat dug up, may have been why people were so afraid of him, that maybe little comments here and there, little things that he said or little things that he did made people afraid of him. And I think this is the history behind it. So I wanted to kind of point that out and make that connection based on what I was reading in the comments from the last video. I am going to pop back a couple of times and just clarify a couple things throughout this video. This is just the first one. But for now, back to the video. While all of this is coming out about Jeffree, of course, James is making a fool out of himself publicly. He's doing the thing that he always does, but privately, allegedly, he's still messaging boys under 18. On purpose, by accident, we don't know. We probably never will know, but we do have the proof that he did it. One victim shared his story after becoming an adult. We're going to fill it in here where the abuse allegedly happened. His name is Matthew, and he said that in November of 2020, James sent him nude pictures when he was only 16 years old. Here's Matthew as an adult talking about what happened to him when he was 16.
Story time on how I was one of James Charles' victims. Now, this happened almost exactly 3 years ago now. I was 16, just had turned 16 a few months before. Everything that has ever been said about him online regarding this topic, I 100% believe because I have firsthand knowledge. So here we go. November 7th, 2020, 9:24. Age check. You're thinking, could be harmless. He's just asking for my age. Yeah, it wasn't. So this is a really complicated but also uncomplicated situation, which is why I never talked about it because I just didn't have the heart to. But basically, he DM'd me that, and I responded and I said, I'm a very mature 16. Now I understand right off the bat, I shouldn't be talking like that. I should not be egging someone on like this or like trying to like entice them. That wasn't my intent, I'm sure, but that's definitely how it came off, and I understand that now. But that being said, no matter what, I was a child, and he was like 22. Like, and it was also James Charles. So you're 16, and you're seeing this, and it's like insane. I didn't know what to do. My brain was so like, it was empty. I had no thoughts going through. I had no idea what to do. I already said that, but it's so true. Whatever, I really, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing I could have said. He should have just stopped the conversation. He was the adult. So we had like maybe 5 texts back and forth on Instagram. It was age check. I'm a very mature 16. Oh, damn. Don't want to catch a case. And then after that, it was just like kind of stupid. Like that should have been end of conversation. But then he proceeded to add me on Snapchat. So this is 10:23. So an hour after this, or after I had responded to him and had the conversation. Now, again, you could just be like, oh, he could have added you on Snap before he got your age and thought maybe you were 18, like whatever. No, this was, I'm telling you right now, this was after that. So you can believe that or not. But he then proceeded to snap me, and we snapped for a while, didn't really talk much, like whatever. Then I get this snap one day. Now, this is November 24th, 2020, James Charles. I don't know if this was the actual snap. I don't have any screenshots of my snaps, but I opened this snap, and I swear to God, it was a full ass pic of like him in a mirror, something, whatever. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? To which he responded, what did I send? I said, you just sent a child your ass pic, actually. And then I kid you not, he said, oops, sorry, that was for my kitty girls group chat. Or maybe someone else. I don't know. Sorry. blocked me immediately. Right then and there. And that's all I have to say on the topic. That's all I need to say. I don't really care if anyone believes me. I was in the situation. I know what happened to me. I know that people might want to try to blame me for saying what I said to him, but like, I was a child. He had the upper hand. He needed to have not done what he did, and he did it anyway. And he needs to reap the consequences. And yeah, maybe people should stop supporting him or something.
Keeping up with the timeline, as Matthew is saying that James is sending him these inappropriate pictures right around the same time James's show with YouTube called Instant Influencer won a Streamy for Best Show of the Year, which is an internet award show. Yeah, he's winning awards while he's allegedly doing the stuff behind the scenes. Absolutely gross. So happy New Year. We have made it to 2021 and James is still allegedly DMing naked pictures of himself to minors. The story that finally broke James and made him have to admit publicly that he was doing this was a 16-year-old named Isaiah. Again, even though Isaiah's story is public, I don't feel comfortable showing his face because he is 16, but again, trust me, this boy looks like a child. To my knowledge, this was the first time that James was specifically accused of grooming. Just so we all have the same definition here, according to RAINN, which is the US's largest anti-sexual violence organization, grooming behaviors are manipulative in nature and are used to gain access to a potential victim, coerce them to agree to the abuse, and reduce the risk of being caught. Grooming takes many forms, but often follows a specific pattern of a victim being chosen, the abuser gaining access to the victim, isolating them, developing trust and keeping secrets, desensitizing them to discussion of sexual topics, and then an attempt by the abusers to normalize the abusive behavior. In short, grooming is a psychological tactic used by abusers to get the person that they are abusing to agree to things that they wouldn't normally agree with, and then to keep it a secret. Now that this is clear, let's listen to what Isaiah said happened.
So trigger warning, I will be talking about grooming and James Charles, so if you get triggered by any of those, keep scrolling, but if not, watch this video, please. So last Wednesday on the 17th, James Charles snapped me on Snapchat. He added me back because I had snapped him a while ago, just like a fan to influencer conversation. I was excited because he's my biggest influencer-wise, and I've always looked up to him, so I was excited to get his message back. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna post proof of it right now. This is the notification that I got when he Snapchatted me first. And just for further proof, he deleted the chat. I don't know what he deleted, but that's me opening his Snapchat. I went into the bathroom, and I guess he saw the bathroom light, so he started making the conversation very sexual, and it made me really uncomfortable. And I'll post some of the stuff that he sent me now. You can't see it because it's blurry, because I took it on my iPad, because I don't want him to see that I screenshotted it, but I'll post it right now. He proceeded to send me explicit pictures of his body. So after sending me that first picture of his body, explicitly, he sent me multiple after that, and I'll post them now. I was getting really uncomfortable, so I told him my age. I told him I'm 16. Meanwhile, he's 21. He's a grown man. And then he proceeds to say, oh, but I didn't even get to see meaning my body. And after telling him, like, no, like, I'm not gonna send it to you, he kept on asking for pictures and videos of body hair and me flexing and stuff. He proceeded to ask to FaceTime me, which I then said no to, and then I asked why. And this is what he said. It's sad to say that I can't even look up my biggest influence the same again. I've heard multiple stories about him doing this to people, but you never believe it until it happens to you. So now I'm a big believer of what James Charles does to other people, and it sucks because he has so much going for him, and he does this to himself.
This became very public very quickly, and later that day, James put out a text apology for the accusations. Since this is such an important part of the story, I do want to read this out in full, James's response to Isaiah's video. James says, "There's a video going around about me on TikTok and Twitter of a guy calling me a groomer, and I want to address it right away. The accusation that I have groomed this person is completely false. Last week, I came across someone on my Instagram Explore page, saw he followed me, and added him on Snapchat. The next morning, I woke up to several snaps from this person being excited I added him back, saying he loved me, and also lewd photos of himself in the shower." Ugh, this is so gross. This is so disgusting. I'm really having trouble with this. This is awful. I asked how old he was right away, and he told me he was 18, so I started flirting back. In the excitement of meeting someone I thought could be potentially great, I didn't ask for a copy of his ID or passport. It's now clear, based on the video he uploaded, he was taking photos of me with another device and had an ulterior motive from the beginning. Talk about victim blaming. Ugh. Later in the day, he said a few things that made me question the validity of his original age answer, and when I asked him to confirm his age once again, he admitted he was 16. I told him I was really uncomfortable and apologized for flirting, but he insisted on continuing talking, saying it could be our little secret. He's a fan of mine and would never tell anyone. I told him I wasn't okay with this. He started getting upset, and at this point, I unfriended him. We haven't spoken since. I'm not victim blaming him or victimizing myself either, simply sharing what happened, and what happened was not okay. After false allegations like this in the past, I would never knowingly engage with anyone underage and put my life on the line for a few Snapchats. Because of situations like this, instead of taking someone's word for it, I now will ask the CID or passport of every guy I have a conversation with. Commentary channel Paige Christie had the most liked response to this tweet by James. This is what Paige said. "At some point, you have to take the responsibility as the adult." And there's a reason why that is the most liked tweet, because she's absolutely right. Isaiah was contacted by Business Insider, aka Kat Tenbarge. Kat asked him about James's explanation tweet, and Isaiah said that James had lied in his tweet. He said, quote, "I never told him I was 18. In my TikTok bio, it says I'm 16. I didn't record me saying it, just like he doesn't have proof of me supposedly saying I'm 18. One thing I don't think James was thinking about, because he was just thinking about himself in this moment and defending himself and trying to blame Isaiah, being a whole child, for their interaction. I don't think James thought through where he said that Isaiah had sent him pictures of himself in the shower. And I think this just lends to how selfish James Charles is and how detached he is from reality and what this really meant. That it was so important for James to defend himself that he didn't realize he was incriminating himself in that post. 5 days later, on March 31st of 2021, James filmed a video called "Holding Myself Accountable," and he recognizes that this video is going to go live on April 1st, and of course, he says in the video that it's April Fool's Day, but he wanted to address it right away. I'm going to play you one part of the video that I feel like is the crux of James's message.
In case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, within the past couple of weeks, 2 different people, both under the age of 18, have recently come forward saying that they had inappropriate messages with me on social media. One of them being from last year and one of them being from more recent. In both of these cases, I added these people on Snapchat, asked how old they were right away, was told that they were 18, believed them, engaged in a flirty conversation, and then later on found out that they were actually 16.
I just want to jump in really quickly and comment on this, because James, of course, never says the names of the boys that he messaged for obvious reasons. It is probable, in my opinion, that one of them is Isaiah, but after literal months of research on this and really sticking with that timeline, I cannot figure out who the second 16-year-old is. It is possible that it's so buried that I can't find it, but the only person that seems to fit this description in the timeline is Ethan, who was 14, not 16. Matthew also fits the timeline here, but he doesn't tell his story until years later. So I personally think he's probably talking about Ethan here, but just keep in mind he was 14, not 16.
Upon finding out, I was immediately embarrassed and blocked both people. Later on, when I saw them making videos about it and those videos going viral, my immediate reaction, completely honestly, was to be really, really upset. I wanted to get on camera and film another No More Lies video where I gather all my receipts and all my screenshots and try to tell my side of the story and then just move on from the situation. And now looking back, that was so stupid because as I did more research on these topics and self-reflected, I realized that the receipts and the screenshots and the specific details of the interaction really don't matter because I f***ed up. And I needed to take accountability for my actions and most importantly, apologize to the people that were affected by them. These conversations should have never happened, point blank period. There's no excuse for it, there's no if, ands, or buts, and I take full responsibility for that. I trusted the information that was given to me rather than the information I could have and should have gotten myself. In both of these situations, doing research into these people's public social media profiles would have revealed their true ages, and therefore these conversations would have never happened in the first place, but I didn't do the research, and that is what is so embarrassing. As an adult, it is my job and my responsibility to verify who I'm talking to, and therefore there is no one to blame for this other than myself. To the guys involved with this situation, I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I added you, I'm sorry that I flirted with you, and I'm really sorry if I ever made you uncomfortable.
Just jumping in again real quick, what really bothers me here is that he said he's sorry for flirting with them. I guess the definition of what flirting is subjective, but personally, I feel like that minimizes what he did, which was sending nude pictures and asking for nude pictures from teenagers. I would say that that's not flirting, but clearly James is trying to, in my opinion, minimize what he actually did here, and I just wanted to point that out.
It is completely unacceptable. I was being reckless, and after looking back and finally realizing that this was my own fault, I started doing a lot of thinking and reflecting to really try and figure out why I was actually allowing myself to be so reckless in the first place. In all other areas of my life, my friends, my business, I like to think of myself as pretty put together and on top of things, and I couldn't understand why relationships were the one outlier. Why were they not working? Why was this area of me so different? And I finally came to a conclusion. It sucks and it is ridiculously embarrassing to admit this, but I think I have to, and that is that I'm desperate. I do understand that with these videos coming to light, it's really it's really looking, period, like I'm actively searching for younger people to be in a relationship with, and I just want to say firsthand that that is absolutely not the case. That you're probably still in either high school or college, like a senior in high school or in college. My hope has always been to be in a relationship with somebody around my age or older that I can relate to and that can make me laugh. And unfortunately, I've not been able to find that person yet, but the idea of actually being in a relationship became so important to me that I was willing to trust too quickly, miss out on red flags, and most importantly, not take the precautionary measures that really anybody, but especially somebody with a public platform, should be taking before talking to anybody. And there's no excuse for that. I had the mentality that I could reach out to literally anybody and use my Explore page and For You page as a dating app, and eventually I would just happen to find the right person, but that's just not how dating works, literally at all. It's gross, it's weird, and it's desperation. I'm a firm believer that when scandals or situations like this happen, you can get on camera and upload an apology video where you say sorry a million times all day long, but the only way to actually show and prove that you are sorry is through action and change. And I'm going to change. This whole situation has been so embarrassing and I'm ashamed, but like I said, I'm now educated and fully understand what went on. And I'm making a promise to all of you right now on camera that I will be way more careful moving forward with every single person that I speak to. My For You page and Explore page are not dating apps, and I will stop treating them as if they are. I also have already started asking for proper identification from every single guy that has either reached out or that I was speaking to, and will continue doing so for the rest of time. I now understand the root of the problem. I understand how and why I, and only I, caused myself to get into this situation. I understand that this could have and should have been easily avoided, and I also understand that I need to be aware of my platform at all times. I didn't understand how a situation like this could affect the people involved, but now I do. And for that, to the victims, I am so, so sorry. And I promise that something like this will never, ever happen again. In 2019, when I had my whole situation, I was accused of abusing my fame, money, and power to get what I wanted. And when I responded to that at the time, I said that that was disgusting and that I would never want to do that. And to this day, I still stand behind that sentiment 1000%. So when it was getting brought up again, I got really, really frustrated and was trying to understand, because I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I know that this situation shouldn't have happened. I know that this conversation shouldn't have occurred. I take responsibility for that. But at the same time, like, they DM'd you first. They lied to you. They flirted first. Like, you didn't use your fame, money, and power to get anything. But I've now realized that that mentality is completely wrong, because a power imbalance can happen even when it's not intentional. What I wasn't getting before is that the excitement that comes with talking to a celebrity is literally enough to make somebody do or say something that they normally wouldn't, even if that celebrity isn't intentionally weaponizing their fame, money, or power. And that's the concept that I just wasn't getting, but I now do.
There are a couple of things that I want to point out about this video. And the first one has to do with James referencing Tati and Jeffrey, and how James says he didn't really understand what they were accusing him of or what he was doing wrong. To me, this validates that Tati and Jeffrey were absolutely telling the truth about James displaying predatory behavior in front of them. James is recognizing that he has done this before in front of Jeffrey and Tati. Because in 2019, Tati, in her kitchen with Gabriel Zamora, tried to bring James to reality and tell him that this behavior needed to stop, to which, of course, James did not.
And what do we mean about grooming? Grooming can occur in a lot of ways, but what grooming really is this behavior of using a position of trust to get somebody to override their instincts. It's a form of manipulation. It entices people to do something they might not otherwise do, but it's making the person feel special and feeling like they deserve the special attention that they're getting. And that's where we see people in a position of power. A celebrity, an internet celebrity, is in a position of power, making someone feel special. And you see that in both James's statements and in the minor's statements, saying, I was thrilled that he friended me back. Right. Because a position of power. There's a dynamic there. And now by adding the person back on Snapchat, you're making them feel special. You're making them feel like they get this special attention that they want to still have. So you can push their boundaries by giving them special attention, by making them feel safe with you. But that's all done with a purpose of exploiting and manipulating that position of trust. So that's what grooming is. Did that happen in this case? We don't have all the facts. We have two sides of the story, but that making someone feel special and making someone feel like they want to do something for you and they want to stay kind of in your sphere can push their boundaries. Those are grooming behaviors. There is also predatory grooming when people do that to multiple other people. In this case, there are allegations of that this is a way of behaving.
And then there's the big faux pas of the whole thing, the I'm desperate thing. And I think the motivation for this, and again, this is just my opinion, I think the motivation for this was to gain sympathy from people who have been lonely in their past, people who may be lonely now, who are looking for love, and maybe understand that feeling of desperation, of really wanting to be with somebody. And it is a manipulation. Because the problem with this is that even though people might be able to relate to that feeling, how many of those people are dealing with that feeling by sending naked pictures to minors? Probably not very many, hopefully none. As far as his admittance of understanding the social hierarchy and the power imbalance, I feel like this is probably a realization moment for him, but it also shows this pattern of behavior. The pattern of behavior where James thinks he knows more than the people around him and doesn't listen. They tell him to stop, they warn him, they say, this is bad, don't do this, and James is like, whatever. and just keeps doing it. And the thing is, he does it without regard for who he's hurting. He's only thinking about himself. He's right here, just here, and he won't listen to anybody. And the last point I want to bring up about this is that even though James seems to be taking responsibility for his actions, he's really not, because he keeps bringing up that the boys told him that they were 18. And again, irrelevant, still his responsibility, shouldn't have been brought up at all. James then calls the boys victims, and I do believe that this is correct, and I do believe that this is the correct wording that he should have used. But I do think that this whole part in the video is really truly about him giving his fans a narrative that they can run with. Well, the boys lied to him, so it's not James's fault. They manipulated him. They were clout chasers. They decided that they wanted to be to trick James so that they could then expose him. All of that is irrelevant, but that's the narrative he's feeding his audience so that they can justify continuing to follow him. And it worked very well. I hate bringing her up again because I really am not a fan of this creator, but she makes points and she's the only one that makes these points. So I cannot avoid it. We need to bring Blair White back because Blair uploaded a video about a week later, a little less than a week later, and it was called James Charles is a Predator and the Excuses Are Getting Old. And I think what Blair says here is really important.
It is really not that hard to not sex minors. It's just not. If it was that hard, everyone would be falling into that. But most people don't have this just like long history and like rap sheet of like minors they've been involved with. James does. Like, if it was a one-time occurrence, I think you have a right for the world to forgive you. Like, oh, someone lied to him about their age. But then you have boy after boy after boy after boy, and oh, this one has his age in his bio, 16 the entire time, and James doesn't care. It's just a mess. At this point where there's smoke, there is most definitely fire. At this point, there is definitely a pattern, and James is a predator, in my opinion. And it's so crazy because people have fallen from grace for so much less. Like... And I was thinking about this before I filmed because if you guys recall a video I did last summer about Jeffree Star, I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it, I guess. You probably have. Where I talked about a FaceTime call I had with Jeffree where he definitely revealed a very damning receipt on James Charles allegedly, let's just say, violating someone. Okay, that is the receipt. And Jeffree had teased this receipt that he had, and people were very upset about it, and I was upset about it too. I don't think you should just dangle that in front of people like it's tea or drama or something. But that doesn't change the fact that it was a receipt. And after I did that video, I had influencer after influencer after influencer in my DM saying, yeah, you know, we've known this about James for so long. Like, here's this other incident that I know about and this other incident. And like, yeah, this is a problem. And it's just this big open secret that's been an open secret for so long. And yet he just keeps skating on by. The internet often is incapable of holding two thoughts in their head at one time. So because they didn't like the messenger, or because the messenger had a messy past, or the messenger, you know, did controversial things, that suddenly invalidated the message. But why can't more than one thing be true at once? Why can't Jeffree Star be a bad person and be a jerk and be a crappy person and also not be wrong when he calls James a predator? James Charles is that creep. I don't know how much more evidence people need. He's always hanging out with teenagers and TikToks, etc. He is consistently getting caught in 4K messaging inappropriate things to young boys, and yet half of y'all will still come up with exhibit A, B, C, and D why it's really not that bad, or this is why it's okay. Like, shut the f up. There is literally no reason for a man in his 20s to be consistently hanging out with and sucking underage people. There's just not. We have someone who has admitted to being attracted to young boys on camera, and that same person who has been caught young boys on camera. It doesn't get any more cut and dry. And so the fact that y'all are trying to shove nuance into this is a little bit bewildering to me.
Blair's point here is so important because the reason why James was able to continue and escalate to this point is because Jeffree accused him publicly of all of these things, of being a predator, of being a danger to society, and had no receipts. He showed no receipts. So people thought that James Charles was safe. They thought that he was okay. They thought Jeffree was lying and that it wasn't real when it absolutely was real. What Jeffree did and what Tati Muddy did by trying to expose James to get him to stop his behavior actually had the opposite effect in escalating him and giving him the confidence in showing the public and making the public believe that it was all lies. That's how we got here. What it comes down to, though, is I can understand why they did what they did. They saw James doing creepy things. They saw it. If you've ever gone to the police about something, then you know that the police require either direct evidence that a crime was committed or a victim coming forward, and they didn't have that. And that was why they felt like this was their only recourse to stop him. What they didn't count on was that James would invalidate everything that they had said, because they didn't have those receipts to back it up. People like Jeffrey, Tati, and Blair came forward with what they knew, but because they couldn't prove it, they got fried for it.
Hello, editing Jen back again. I do want to pause for a significant amount of time here because I do feel like I left out some really important details when I filmed, and I want to make sure that they're in here because there are a lot of other people who accuse James of being inappropriate with them. And the media put out the number 15 victims. There were so many media outlets that said that there were 15 accusers. I want to make sure that we establish that this number did include Gage Gomez, who was the guy from Coachella, and Sam Cooke, who became known as the waiter from Seattle, and we called him the busboy from Bellevue because that was actually who he was. That was in part 3 of this series, and both of those men were 19 at the time. But it also included the false allegations of Zara Larson, who said that James was flirting with her straight boyfriend, but then she retracted that to a much smaller audience when she realized that there was never an actual conversation between her boyfriend and James. It also included 2 British influencers who had admitted that James flirted with them in person, and that as soon as James found out they were straight, he broke it off. This one really upsets me in that it also includes the story of a 15-year-old boy who later came out to say that he faked all of the text messages that he put online, as well as a Twitter user named Lilac Grove who wrote a story about James assaulting her friend and then said later that she posted it as a social experiment to see how quickly someone would believe a false assault story with no evidence. And I think you can see the problem here in that the exaggerations and the outright lies weaken the stories of the possible real victims. And in remembering the story and going over it all over again, it is so important to know what really happened and not exaggerate claims against James for sensationalism or to make him look bad because I don't personally like the guy. But honestly, I do not believe there were ever 15 victims of James Charles. I believe, this is just my belief based on my research that I've done, that there were 3 underage victims of James Charles that came out publicly. Ethan, Isaiah, and Matthew. We also have Gage, who I personally believe that James treated horribly. There's also one more story that I want to mention, and it wasn't in my timeline because the person hadn't put a timestamp of when this happened, and I just missed it. But I do want to mention it because he is listed as one of James's victims, and his name is Sebastian Javier. Basically, Sebastian's story is that they went to an escape room. James was really flirty. He was overly complimenting him, and then when he went back to James's house, James was trying to get him alone, and James's big quote-unquote crime was giving him a hug and calling him some unknown names that made him feel uncomfortable. So based on the story, is Sebastian a victim? In my opinion, I would say no. This sounds like a normal failed attempt at flirting, but Sebastian and so many others are called victims, and I don't think that that's fair to Ethan, Isaiah, and Matthew, who as children were sent screenshots of James's butt. It is totally different. But as I've sat with this story for the past 2 months, what stands clear to me is that James admitted that he was attracted to high school boys. Evidence was presented that he sent naked pictures of himself to at least 3 high school boys, Ethan, Isaiah, and Matthew, and this led to James apologizing publicly and calling the boys victims. That is a fact. But what muddies all of this is the many people that exaggerated their stories or outright lied about things they said James did. People who were only victims of failed flirting attempts, saying they were in a relationship with him and then they only had a short interaction with him. And I don't think that that's fair to the retelling of the story. It is so easy to be biased one way or another, but what I really want to do here is present what we know as facts so that you can decide what you want to believe about James as a person. But the story isn't quite over yet. Let's keep going.
But now in 2021, there were clear receipts, and James was going down. On April 16th of 2021, it was 2 weeks after James uploaded Holding Myself Accountable, Morphe cut ties with James Charles and discontinued all of their collaboration products. In a tweet, they stated, quote, "In light of the recent allegations against James Charles, Morphe and James have agreed to end our business relationship and wind down sales of the Morphe and James Charles product offering. It is and has always been Morphe's goal to create a positive, safe, and empowering space where all beauty lovers can freely share their artistry and passion for cosmetics, and Morphe is committed to furthering that goal," which I don't even know how that's even freaking relevant, Morphe. Like, to be honest, like, I don't know what that has to do with anything. It's just fluffy they put at the end. It should also be noted that they didn't pull his stuff right away. I remember seeing stuff at least 6 months later on the Morphe website of James's products still being for sale, that they were just trying to sell out of the product, that they were only going to cut ties with him after his product was sold out, is what it seemed like. Eventually things did go away. I don't know what the timeline was for that, but I'm not a Morphe fan. In case you can't tell, Morphe and Forma, we're not friends with them. We're just not. Anyway, what I think is the biggest hit to James came 3 days after that, and that's when YouTube temporarily demonetized his channel. And what that means is that James was allowed to upload. He could have uploaded anything he wanted, but he just wouldn't be paid for it in ad revenue. And when you're getting millions of views on a video, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So he could have uploaded, but chose not to upload for 3.5 months. But this is where things take a twist, because do you remember from part 4, do you remember Kelly? Kelly was the one that was the employee of James, that she had worked for him in 2018 as his editor, and he gave her promotion to producer. But then, according to Kelly, he didn't replace her as editor and required her to do both jobs and overworked her. Then she got hurt and couldn't work, and he ended up firing her because she wasn't working when she was in the hospital. It was a whole thing. So she ended up suing him for wrongful termination and of not paying her appropriately, all of that. So now that's coming to a head. The lawsuit has been going on this whole time, but Kelly has now spoken to the press, and we don't know what Kelly's motivation was or why this timing when Kelly decided to talk to Kat Tenbarge. Because of course it was Kat Tenbarge, about this lawsuit and what her accusations against James were. So James got wind that this article was going to come out, so he broke his silence and put up an Instagram story, just warning his audience that this article was going to come out and that it was all not true.
Hello everybody, James here. I hope you guys are all having a beautiful day, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing well as well. I really miss you guys. Don't worry, this is not my return to social media. But unfortunately, I am logging in today because I feel as though I am being cornered and have to make yet another public statement. I've been quiet online, but things behind the scenes have not been so quiet. There's a lot going on, and I currently feel as though the situation that I was in is being taken advantage of, and I feel as though I'm being blackmailed, which is why I wanted to film this video today. For those who are not aware, for the last 2 years now, I've been dealing with an ongoing lawsuit from one of my previous employees. Basically, when I was 18, I moved to LA. I was living in my downtown apartment, as you guys know, and my YouTube channel was just starting to take off. I was filming and editing 3 videos a week by myself for my channel, and I really just wanted help, so I hired an editor. This person worked for me and then was later promoted to my producer, which means she was no longer editing. She was helping me film videos and was like my right-hand person for a salary of $72,000 a year. She only worked for me for about 6 months and then was let go, and now I am being sued. The suit is all online. You can read through it if you really want to, but it basically alleges that she was wrongfully terminated, overworked, and underpaid, all of which are untrue. The case also kind of makes it seem like she's just trying to get back like the wages that she feels like she should have been paid for her work, which I wish were the truth, because in reality, this suit is actually for hundreds of thousands of dollars. She is suing me. She has sued other YouTubers in the past. She was bragging on Twitter about how she just settled another case recently, so this is clearly a thing. But settling is no longer an option that's on the table, and I'm going to tell you why. This past week, I was reached out to for comment about a news article that is coming soon, and I learned that she is talking to the press about this lawsuit and what it was like to work for me as an employee. However, she's adding a ton of absolutely ridiculous, absurd, untrue, defamatory, just the craziest claims you could ever imagine. And in my opinion, it's an attempt to pressure me into making a much, much higher settlement offer. Once again, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. The problem though, and why I'm making this video today, is because until that happens one day, we're dealing with the court of public opinion, which is a very, very different situation. And it's a court that is not on my side right now, which is just frustrating because, like I mentioned earlier, I feel as though this is all just to pressure me. There has been 2 years of timed opportunity to speak about any of this stuff. But now it's happening, and now we're going to the press, and now we're doing this back and forth. It feels so wrong to me. I wanted to make this video today to give anybody who may care and any of my followers some sort of background, some sort of explanation, some sort of insight into what's actually happening behind the scenes, because it's crazy. And I don't want this article to come out and just blindside people, because it is going to come out. And when it does, I know that it's going to be bad. And I totally understand that people are going to think whatever they want to, regardless of what I say, regardless of what receipts, screenshots, legal documents that I pull, and that's okay. That's, you know, everyone has a right to their opinion. I just want to give some sort of explanation so you guys know, and hopefully you're able to see this and what's happening here for what it really is.
James warns his audience. Kat then publishes the article, and it was something else. Here are some of the highlights. Quote, "Imagine having to go over and essentially pick James up out of bed, tell him to brush his teeth, tell him, okay, what do you want to eat? Okay, someone is coming to do your laundry. Okay, I'm going to get your laundry, I guess. Okay, time to start filming. You don't want to film? Well, we both know you have to, so please, let's think about it." And according to the article, apparently James used to walk around the house naked, and that made her very uncomfortable. He used to call her names like bitch, which I can see, you know, bitch, you know, it's might have been slang, but she didn't like it. I don't know if she told him she didn't like it, but she says she didn't like that. And she also says that he texted her once, quote, "Kelly, I might need your help shaving my butt." This supposedly was in preparation for him wearing an outfit to Coachella that showed his butt. So I don't think this was the same year as Buttchella though, because I think this was 2018 and Buttchella was 2019. So I don't know what he wore in 2018. I didn't look at that. I don't want to see his butt, to be honest. Not something on my bucket list. So we're going to skip that. But Kelly told Kat that James's behavior made her, quote, extremely uncomfortable. And I think if this did happen, this would make anybody uncomfortable. Do we know whether this actually happened or not? No, we don't. It's Kelly's word versus James. James said it didn't happen. Kelly said it did happen. But if we think about James's patterns of behavior, are we surprised? Like, if this happened, would we be surprised? I would not be surprised. I mean, he told a graphic sexual story in front of his teenage brother, knowing that he had preteen fans that were going to watch the video. He supposedly talked about what he wanted to do to the waiter at Tati's birthday dinner in front of his own parents and all of Tati's friends and family. This tracks. I don't know if it happened, but it tracks. Because the thing is, James shows himself over and over again to have zero boundaries and not caring about how his words and actions affect other people. This is just more of that. Personally, it is my opinion. I do not have this as a fact. It is my opinion. I personally believe Kelly that this happened. It would not be a shocker to me. And I'm absolutely horrified if it did happen. I would love to tell you that this is the end of James Charles's career. but it is absolutely not. James returned to his YouTube channel on July 2nd of 2021 with a 30-minute video called An Open Conversation. And in that video, he puts on his makeup and he talks about different things, and he says putting on his makeup calms him, so that's what he's going to do. And he stresses that he realizes that it was his responsibility to know the age of the people he was messaging. He talks about how he needs to be held accountable for the things that he did do, but also, of course, but also he really should be able to defend himself if things didn't happen. So he doesn't really get specific on which is which, but that's what he says. I do feel like this video really backtracks on when he said that he had victims. I think he's going against that now. I don't think that he believes that he has victims. Or he doesn't want you to think that he has victims. The whole tone is, yes, I'm taking accountability, but yes, I'm also a victim. And the thing is, his fans believed him. They forgave him. They said, yes, queen. It was just... Oh, it's so frustrating. In the timeline, about a month later, Tati uploads her first video back to YouTube, and it is called A Year Later. And she talks about how leaving the internet wasn't really the fault of my sister and breaking my silence and all of that. That really wasn't what kept her away for so long. It was actually litigation happening with her supplement company, Halo Beauty. When asked about the previous drama by Entertainment Tonight, Jeffree said that he hadn't seen James or Tati in probably 2 years now.
Where does your relationship stand with Tati Westbrook right now?
Ooh, okay. Zero.
Zero. No
Yeah,
relationship.
No relationship.
James Charles.
Zero.
Zero. So
I haven't seen either of them in probably 2 years now. Yeah.
And that's probably been the best for you mentally?
I think so. Yeah.
On November 5th, Tati announced that she was closing Tati Beauty, her makeup line, due to the litigation with Halo Beauty and Clark Swanson. The Kelly Rock line lawsuit ended. We don't know why. I don't have access to be able to look at exactly what happened. What we can see is that the docket seemed to be moving along until April 2021, until there was a long pause. And then in December, Kelly herself filed a request for dismissal. There was an appeal filed, and then that was dismissed. And the last date on the docket is January 12th of 2022. So that's all we know about that. On December 31st of 2022, Jeffree tweeted about escaping the Illuminati in 2021. I wish I was kidding. It's on the screen. It's real. And that he was going to expose everything in 2020, but the Hollywood elite tried to ruin his entire career. These tweets are wild. On April 10th of 2023, Jeffree went on another podcast and said that James belonged in jail.
First thing that comes to mind is cell block 8 prison. This person should be behind bars. You can zoom in on the eyes. There's no soul in that fucking body. It's so sociopathic and creepy. When you hear about people selling their soul.
Oh, didn't the Illuminati come for you?
They tried. I think they got a few of my old friends because they don't look like there's anyone in there. I want to knock on their heads, but it might shatter all the fucking plastic.
That's terrifying.
But James was not in jail. James was launching his makeup line Painted around that same time. And if you're curious why he didn't go to jail, like why didn't James go to jail? I will reference Emily D. Baker, who I will link her video down below for you, where she goes into detail about why she doesn't think that James went to jail. And part of it is that she feels like that the law has not evolved with the internet. And the way that things are written, it would be really difficult to get a lawyer to pick up the case because we've discussed this before, that the law here in the US, sometimes it's just not fair. It's just not right. And just because something isn't against the law doesn't mean it's not wrong. It's just that the law needs to be updated. And until the law is updated, it just doesn't seem like that anybody that took James to court for this would actually end up in consequences for James. Part of it is that James never specifically asks to see any of the boys' body parts. He asks to see things like their body hair and them flexing their muscles and stuff like that, but he never asks to see the parts. And that makes a big difference, according to Emily.
Is grooming specifically illegal? No. No. Grooming is the behavior that leads up to the actions that can then become illegal. If minors send photos, explicit photos, it can be CP, and the receiver can get in trouble. Just James sending non-genitalia photos to the minor, what is that? Is that a crime? James talking to the minor, what is that? Is that a crime? Sending suggestive texts to a minor in California, maybe could fall into the misdemeanor annoying a child category. Maybe. But it's a misdemeanor. Nobody's going to jail, right? Maybe we'll be on probation. Maybe we'll have some limitations. The offender registration becomes the big deal there. Now, people are advocating for changes to the laws with regard to things like sexting and with regard to sexting with minors. But not every state, most in fact, don't have sexting laws. Now, we also have to look at the federal laws. So people are going to ask, why isn't this, lewd acts with a child? Why isn't this those types of things? Those all require touching. The internet is allowing for things to play out that don't fit within the way the crimes are actually written. What was very interesting to me in this is when the minor was talking about the way photos were being solicited. The way photos were being solicited were vague enough to where a police officer or prosecutor would look at it and go, that's going to be tough. Because unless, and we have not seen this could exist. We have not seen it from what's been shared. The photos were, I want to see you flex, or the requests were, I want to see you flex. I want to see you look sexy. I want to see your body hair. But is that requesting a particular body part? It's a lot easier if somebody says, send me a picture of your genitalia. That becomes much like, send me that dick. That becomes a much easier case for a prosecutor to go, oh, you're soliciting explicit images of a minor. Cool. Crime. Easy to spot. Like it's dancing around it. And the fact that it's dancing around it is hard for me, because the fact that there's dancing around it, I'm like, what's the intent there? Are we choosing to dance around it so we don't get in trouble? Is that what's happening? Or is it really that that's what you want to see? The dancing around it is hard for me.
Now we're in more recent times, and you may remember this. It wasn't that long ago. There was an article that was published called James Charles Would Like to Be Uncanceled, Please. And the outrage with this article was so well deserved. So well deserved. It was such a puff piece. It was such a puff piece. It was in Cosmopolitan. It was the most horrible article. It will be linked down below in case you would like to mentally roast it. But just so you know, you may get very angry reading this, because no, James Charles cannot be uncanceled. But the thing is he's not canceled. He is thriving. This is despite Jeffrey coming out again in September of 2023, calling James a monster.
This is a tricky conversation, so let me word this the right way. I got cocky and thought that I could expose someone else's trauma and story to X out someone else. That person did not want me to. Therefore, this person is still free. And to see this person still out there, they're not thriving like they used to be at all, is just interesting. But the industry does have demonic snakes.
Yeah.
He's the biggest piece of shit in the beauty industry.
Wow,
and he
really?
allegedly has done a lot of horrible things. He admitted to talking to minors. He is a fucking piece
So
of
that
shit.
is true. I always stay out of the drama.
He did a video allegedly, not allegedly, admitting to minors. One of the most vile human beings on this planet. And I have never really talked or addressed these things, but he is a literal monster. People aren't ready for the truth. Everyone wants to keep their mouths shut, and they keep... Why?
Right.
If someone is bad, let people know.
Yeah. No,
You have A-list celebrities literally using this shit. Yes, Kim Kardashian, we're talking to you. You're using his makeup?
Absolutely. You'll have to tell me who it is later so I can steer clear of that human.
Oh, his name's James Charles.
Remember Matthew Lawrence? Yeah, this is in the timeline when Matthew uploads his video about what happened to him back in 2020. There was a bit of buzz surrounding this when Matthew put out his video, but nothing really happened consequence-wise for James. His fans excused it as old news, that this happened back in 2020. It's 2023. You know, we're so far beyond this. It's like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. So that brings us to 2024, and the sad news that James is more popular than ever. He has close to 24 million followers on YouTube, and you see I'm crying about this, 20 million on Instagram and almost 39 million followers on TikTok. He has recently, his newest thing is calling people fatty. That's what he does all the time now, apparently. I don't know all the time. I've seen a few clips of him calling people fatty. Here's one of them.
Why won't TikTok get off your feed? Block me then, fatty. Not my problem. Your feed is giving you what you want to see. So you can say whatever you want, pretend you don't like me, but we both know why you're watching. Okay? We both know. Let's be for real.
Yeah, okay, fatty. Fatty, 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 fatty. And you know what? It doesn't matter. But ugly is to the bone. You know what? Exactly the point. You are ugly to the core.
And the thing is he's being reinforced for this behavior because literally every single comment next to this post are things like, you ate with that and you're so funny and slay. People are cool with this, which it's just a difference of opinion of what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. But yeah, there's definitely a large group of people that are totally fine with this behavior.
This is why we should be careful of who we watch as influencers and who we give our power to. Do you really want him calling someone a fatty influencing these young people? That sentence alone could trigger so many people. And who knows what that person did after they commented that and received that as a comment back. Y'all, I'm just kidding. James was really funny for that. If you fell for this, don't believe everything you see on the internet. I honestly kind of love James for that because he's humanizing literally his audience and influencers all together. If you can't take a comment like that back after commenting something like that, then get off the internet because you're too sensitive to be on here. Go James, because that was funny.
Apparently, it appears, it's possible that he may still be sending nudes to strangers. I don't know the age of the strangers, but apparently there are nudes out there because on August 15th of 2024, between this video and part 3, like recent history, some nudes were leaked that were never confirmed to be James Charles, but they look like James Charles. I'm not going to show you. But they were all over my Twitter feed. And oh my gosh, for like 2 days, people would not shut up about these nudes. It was horrible and disgusting. And the emojis that went along with it were so appropriate. It's like, I don't want to see this. But it seems possibly, apparently, that James is still sending nude photos out across the internet. So my friends, we have spent a lot of time here talking about James Charles. And the story is concluding, because we're at the end of the timeline. And my conclusion of all of this, of all 5 parts, is that James will always be a selfish, conceited asshole. He always has been. His career was built on a lie, and he will continue to be a selfish, conceited asshole until he is held accountable by the vast majority of people, meaning that people stop watching. And I don't think that's going to happen. I genuinely don't. Unfortunately, being a selfish, conceited asshole is not necessarily a bad quality in today's social media sphere. I mean, people much more value his confidence and his humor and the makeup skills that he has developed. I will give him credit. I do feel like his makeup skills have improved significantly, and he does show talent in that area, and people value that more than his character and who he is as a person. And I also do think that there is some joy in his fans, that stuffy commentators like me are unable to cancel him. But I want to remind you that that wasn't the point of this video. We talked about it in the beginning of part 1. My goal was not to cancel James Charles because I am not arrogant enough to think that I can. I absolutely can't. There's no way. My goal of this whole series was just to tell you the story, to give you all of the information, to start from the beginning, work all the way through who James has presented himself to be, and let you make the decision what you think and what you want to do. We know that he built his career on a lie. We know he grew it through social climbing. We know that he continued over and over and over again to treat people like garbage. He's proved over and over again that he doesn't care about the impact his behavior has on other people, that he's so arrogant, that he believes he knows more than people around him that have more expertise and knowledge than he does. And he DM'd naked pictures of himself to minors, and he is thriving. So I guess what we've learned is from my favorite musical, once again, that nice is different than good. James may seem nice to some people, but he's not a good person. In reality, we can't control James Charles. We can't control what his fans do. All we can control is ourselves. And in that, I have a call to action for you. And what I would love is if in the comment section down below, I want you to leave the names of creators that you love, that you feel like are good people, putting out good content. And after that, I want you to read the comments and I want you to pick a few people. Pick some of those people that other people are recommending, and I want you to go check out their channels and see if they're people that you would love to. I wish there was a happier ending for James Charles, but there can be a happier ending for the good people if we choose it, if we choose to curate our feed with the good and not people like James. All we can control is ourself and our choices, but when we work together to make a good choice for the greater good and lift up people who are good people, we can make an impact. Let's make a conscious effort to search out the good on YouTube and across other platforms to support and lift up people who are the people who are making this world a better place. And with that, I am going to leave you. I know I'm going to be checking the comments for some new favorites, and I hope you will too. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you hanging with me through this series. It's been a lot, but I appreciate you being here, and hopefully you'll stick around for the next one. I'm not sure who I'm going to cover next, but I've got some ideas. See you soon.